And to shed more light on this issue, we are delighted to be joined over the phone by Dr. Monica William, International Relations Researcher. Good evening, Dr. Monica. Doctor, can you hear me?
Good evening. Thank you for having me today.
Thank you for joining us, Doctor. So, given that nearly 20% of the world's oil and 25% of its LNG passes through the Strait of Hormuz, what immediate price shock would a sustained closure cause for crude oil, gasoline, and jet fuel and natural gas? It seems we lost contact with Dr. Monica William, and we are trying to call her back to know more about this important issue and the closure of the Strait of Hormuz on the immediate price of many of the crude oil, gasoline, jet fuel, and natural gas. We are trying to call her back. Dr. Monica? Ladies and gentlemen, we'll have a short break and we'll be right back. So we are back. We are having Dr. Monica William, the International Relations Researcher. Welcome back, Dr. Monica. So I was asking you about the information that nearly 20% of the world's oil and 25% of its LNG passes through the Strait of Hormuz. So what immediate price shock would a sustained closure cause for crude oil, gasoline, jet fuel, and natural gas?
Of course, the current situation in the Strait of Hormuz, as you said, presents a very complex equation that goes beyond the traditional concept of control towards a notion of disruption capabilities of the Iran on this regard. As you see, that was mentioned that there is a lot of loss in the trade route, and the 20% of the global oil disrupted nowadays. This just helps explain how Iran, despite the significant degradation of its conventional naval forces, continue to exercise effective influence over the strait. So, according to the available data and reports, the United States has reportedly sunk more than 155 Iranian vessels, and of course Iran lost 6 out of its 7 fragile, in addition to corvettes and submarines, effectively erode the backbone of the traditional navy of the Tehran. Within the Iran strategic framework, from this target or from this interruption, it's to raise the cost of this war on the United States and on the global economy. So it's a lot of impact on a lot of the influence on the global economic. And this approach is consistent with a broader pattern of, we can say, the strategic stiffness and strategic tactics of the Iran, of course, and its network of regional proxies, of course, as part of its strategy, not only the Strait of Hormuz, but its network of regional proxies, and the portfolio provides, of course, Iran with temporary flexibility, making it less inclined toward drastic consequences and more capable of sustaining prolonged the negotiations. And today we tackle and we follow what Iran do in the negotiations.
Doctor, how would the blockade impact the global fertilizer market, and how might that cascade into food security and agricultural inflation?
Of course, there is a lot of impact on the agriculture and supply chain, and the interconnection between the deadlock of the Strait of Hormuz, and become effect on the food security, especially in Africa, if we can say it, as it disrupted the global trade, or the Africa trade by 30% of its trade, and on the other side affect on the price of the soil and another goods. So it's very important, and it began to have a very impact and on the global economy and on the main stakeholders, especially the United States in this regard.
So what specific pressures would the closure put on Asian spot LNG prices and European gas benchmarks, given the dependence of major importers on Qatari and other Gulf supplies?
Of course, it's a fact on the Gulf countries and the major of the export countries of the can say it, and it's of course by it's affected around by 1 million barrels per day. So it's very important. The closure profound immediate implication for Qatar and Gulf countries, which given their heavily dependence on this checkpoint for energy exports and trade flow. For Qatar, for instance, the impact particularly severe because it's one of the world's largest exporters of LNG, which is liquid natural gas, and nearly all Qatari shipments must pass through the Strait of Hormuz. So any disruption or actually this closure affect and direct constrain export volumes and delay shipment and create uncertainty in global gas markets. And of course, it's effect on the European imports in this regard. On the other side, if we can tackle with the United Arab Emirates, the situation is somewhat more impact and still highly sensitive, and it's partly mitigated its vulnerability through Abu Dhabi crude oil pipeline, which of course passed by and the straight via port of Farjia on the Gulf of Oman.
Thank you so much, Dr. Monica William, the international relations expert, for being with us and for your insight, and international relations researcher as well. Thank you so much, dear viewers. Thank you so much for joining us and for watching us tonight. I hope you enjoyed this episode. That was Lamia Abdel Sattar. Stay tuned on Nile TV International.